Hi guys, Ollie here from On Your Game. I'll just see if anyone wants to join. Today I'm going to be talking to you all about sleep and its importance. So I'll just wait another 10-20 seconds, see if anyone else wants to get involved, and then we'll start. Cool. Okay, so basically, I thought I'd come on in here and speak to you guys all about sleep and its importance. I know if you've been into one of my clinic sessions, you'd have heard me hammer on about the importance of sleep and why we need it. Especially important if we're going through physio. Obviously, it's got a lot of not only mental but bodily aids that it can do, which I'll talk to you about today. The reason that I thought I'd talk about sleep today is because I was on the internet scrolling, doing some research, and I come across a study from YouGov, which was all about how much sleep the Britons get in particular. And this study found that 1 in 8 Britons are typically getting fewer than 6 hours of sleep a night. And then 1 in 5 Britons are getting typically around 6 hours of sleep a night, which is over a third of people not getting the required sleep that we need to maintain health, pretty much, which actually isn't as important as the other stat that I saw, which was saying that 49% of Britons do not get enough, or don't think they get enough sleep per night, which actually applies more to women than it does to men, with about 53% of women saying in this study that they don't think they get enough sleep. Men, it was about 45%. So how much sleep do we actually need? The average adult from 18 and above needs around 7 hours. This changes person to person. Obviously, if we're an athlete, we're going to need more sleep than that. And also as we get older as well. So when you get to above 65, we actually need less sleep in general anyway. You need between about 6 and 7 hours. And also, I know you'd have had this when we see a teenager, or when you were a teenager, we always need more sleep as well. So what is the actual need for sleep? For the most part, we class sleep as an essential function. You can think of it, or I always think of it like we're charging a phone. Obviously, a phone's going to run out of battery if it's not getting recharged. Same way humans work with sleep as well. If we don't get enough sleep, we don't give our body enough chance to recharge. And basically, we don't give ourselves an opportunity to heal from the day before, and also process lots of things and let the body take over. So a healthy body basically also staves off diseases as well. Without enough sleep, the brain just doesn't function. It impairs your abilities to concentrate, think clearly, and process memories as well. There's a really good study from 2017 which looked at all of the short and long-term health consequences that sleep disruption has on a person. And it's mostly to do with these links towards brain functions. So the main one that they found was sleep disruption affects memory and also memory formation as well. So not only will you not remember stuff from the day before, but also long-term memories as well are going to be affected from less sleep. Also performance as well. Performance from a shortened sleep from the day before hinders work, hinders school, and other settings as well, hinders your ability to actually want to motivate yourself. It's also to do with focus, emotional reactivity. Our decision making is impaired when we have less sleep. Risk taking and judgment as well is all impaired from less sleep. Also cognition. It affects stress hormones when we don't get enough sleep within the body. It changes and alters the stress hormones, which also then creates more sleep disruption because we've got more stress within the body as well. So it compounds the issue. The second sleep effect that was caused from this study was actually really fascinating. It's to do with when we get less sleep, we actually increase the risk of weight gain. It's found that there was a clear link between lack of sleep and obesity as well. There's been a study in 2018 that suggested people who regularly sleep less than 7 hours a night are more likely to have a higher BMI, and also from there develop obesity as well. Researchers suggested that sleep deprivation is also associated with high levels of ghrelin, which is the hunger hormone. So the less we sleep, the more hunger we'll feel the day after as well, which is really fascinating. And this actually ties into my third point, which is with more sleep, we get better calorie regulation as well. There's been evidence to suggest that a good night's sleep can help a person intake fewer calories the next day. For example, a 2022 study found that overweight adults who increased their sleep duration by 1.2 hours took in fewer calories, around 270 calories less than their control group. So that's literally a 1 hour increase in sleep means that you're eating less calories as a result, which I thought was really fascinating as well. And obviously because we're eating less calories, there's less chance of our BMI to get increased, and then there's that less risk of obesity as well. One more relevant to my athletes out there is definitely with more sleep, we get greater athletic performance. As I said, adults need at least 7 hours. I mean, some adults need more than that. Some need up to 9 hours. Basically, sleep is important for athletes in sport because, very obvious, but it allows the body to heal. We've seen that with sleep, with greater amounts of sleep, we also get a greater amount of protein synthesis. So all of the protein that we're taking within the body can be used effectively through sleep. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's happening through sleep, but it means it's happening on a day-to-day basis more regularly. So we're getting that greater influence of the protein synthesis. So what we're putting into our bodies is then regulated and used effectively. Obviously, when we're talking about athletic performance as well, tons and tons of times through different studies, you found other benefits such as better endurance, more energy the day after a good sleep. Obviously, I know we've all had this, where you wake up after a bad sleep and all you want to do is finish work early, go home and just continue sleeping or continue resting. And basically that's just due to a lack of sleep and the body's hormones not being able to regulate, and you've got more of this, the negative stress hormones as well, which then lead to you wanting to just rest. We see better accuracy, better reaction time, faster speeds, and better mental functioning. It's what I went back to in the first point, where we're able to decision make better, we're able to concentrate better, leading to better athletic performance. So what about napping then? Is napping good for us? So it was found in the same YouGov study that 1 in 5 Britons say they often have naps throughout the day, and about 43% of us have them sometimes, and only about a third of Britons don't nap throughout the day. So actually napping is really effective. Napping is really good for us. What it was found was that athletes suffering from some degree of sleep loss may benefit from a nap, particularly after a training session. So if we've just had a training session feeling really tired, then we can nap, and it allows our body obviously more chance to recover. Why this is, I'll go into this later, but this is also to do with our sleep cycle and the different stages of sleep. Waterhouse in 2022 did a study that studied the effect of a lunchtime nap on sprint performance following partial sleep deprivation. So what they did was they gave the athletes 4 hours of sleep the day before. The next day, they tested before to see what the average levels of speed were. The next day, they had one of the groups were allowed a nap at midday, and the other half weren't allowed naps. And this was a 30-minute nap, and then they followed a 20-meter sprint. And it was found that performance was increased compared to no nap. Alertness was increased, sleepiness was decreased, and overall cognitive performance was also increased as well in this study. So overall, napping can be very beneficial for athletes, especially if you have to wake up early as well, and you are getting less than 7 hours of sleep, or less than the required amount of sleep that you need. A really cool study actually. So I was looking at specifically at professional sports, and I didn't know this, but what was found was nowadays Premier League teams actually have a sleep expert who they work with the team to regulate the amount of sleep each professional needs. It was found that there is a significant amount of research supporting the fact that sleep is the cornerstone of creating high-performance athletes, and also maintaining that high performance as well. There's a very strong link between poor sleep and the development of muscles. Going back to that protein synthesis I was talking about earlier, it's known that players who sleep below 8 hours per night over a 24-month period will have a 1.7 times more likely chance of developing an injury, which is actually quite big. That's nearly 2 times the amount of chance of creating an injury just from less sleep. And it all goes back to the body being able to think properly. Obviously, if you're not in the right mindset, if you haven't got enough sleep from the day before, you're not going to be creating the right decisions. And also the body doesn't have enough time to heal from the day before. So specifically muscle injuries aren't able to repair, leading to this greater increase in chance of injury. So what I was going to talk to you about next is something that we call the circadian rhythm. It gets talked about a lot, but I was going to give you an explanation of what the circadian rhythm actually is. As humans, we have an internal body clock which regulates our sleep cycle. This resets after 24 hours. This is called our circadian rhythm. After waking up, you'll feel increasingly more tired throughout the day, and then these feelings peak at night time when we go to sleep. This can then be disrupted. Obviously, you hear a lot of people either they either say that they're a night owl or they're an early birds. This is all of our circadian rhythm, and it's usually developed from when we're a teenager, and it gets taken off into our adult life. But there's a few things that can really affect our circadian rhythm. Just bear in mind, it is very important for us to keep a continuous cycle of sleep due to this, because otherwise our body doesn't know what time we're getting to bed. And what you'll find is people who, for instance, work night shifts tend to not get a lot of sleep because their body doesn't know when to send them to sleep. They're not developing that melatonin at night time to say to the body, yes, let's go to sleep. And this is due to things like light as well. So obviously, as I was saying, if you're working the night shift, there's a lot of light, there's a lot of artificial light, natural light, which basically influences the circadian rhythm, because the brain, let me get this right, contains a special region of nerve cells called the hypothalamus, and the cells in the hypothalamus, called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, process the signals from our eyes into our brain. And basically what happens is, if we're getting all this natural or unnatural light into our eyes, then we're not able to develop the melatonin, which then allows us to get to sleep. This is when people start to take different drugs, such as melatonin, to help them get to bed easier. But the way you can neutralize this is just setting yourself a really good circadian rhythm. For instance, getting to bed at the same time every day. What happens naturally, so when we were obviously cavemen, what would happen is, as the natural light disappeared in the evening, the body, as I said, releases melatonin, and then that hormone increases drowsiness, sending us to sleep. So why is the circadian rhythm important as well? The circadian rhythm is important because we have 4 stages of sleep. So you would have heard these. I know anyone in the clinic would have heard me talk about them. We've got 4 different stages of the sleep cycle when we're actually asleep. They're split into 2. So we've got the NREM and the REM. So NREM stands for non-rapid eye movement, and then REM stands for rapid eye movement. 2 seconds. So let's go through these stages and let's talk about them. Stage 1 is what we class as N1. This is the first stage of when we're getting to sleep. So when we put our head in the pillow and we're in between, we're at that drowsiness stage where we don't know if we're asleep or we're awake, we're just getting off to sleep. It usually takes about 10 minutes. It marks the difference between wakefulness and sleep. And you can almost think of it as like a light sleep. It's basically what we get most of all during a nap. Basically at this stage, the muscles relax, our heart rate slows down, our breathing slows down, and our eye movements also begin to slow down, as do our brain waves, just chilling us out pretty much. Obviously they're more active when we're awake, so this is just all lowering at this stage. And by lowering all these things, it helps us get into a deeper sleep, into our N2 stage. Now the N2 stage is characterized by a deeper sleep. As your heart rate and breathing continues to slow down, your muscles become more relaxed, eye movements cease at this stage. And then once all this happens, then it allows our body temperature to decrease as well. And stage 2 we'd typically see as the longest stage of our sleep cycle. So this can last up to an hour. So we've got that first stage lasting between 5 and 10 minutes. The second stage is up to an hour. And it's just slowing the body down. We're trying to get to our stage 3, which is the NREM sleep cycle. And this stage is really important because this is the stage that makes you feel refreshed and alert the next day. The heart rate, breathing, and brainwave activity is all at its lowest. It's when our muscles and our core temperature is at its lowest as well, or at its least reactive. And this stage sort of lasts around 30 minutes. So we're getting 20 to 30 minutes at this stage. Yeah, and as I said, this stage is longer than the first stage, and as the sleep goes on, so this isn't just all one sleep cycle, this happens about 4 to 6 times a night, these 4 stages. And as we go on through the stages of these individual stages throughout the night, it gets longer and longer. Now, the final sleep stage, we all know about this one. This is called REM sleep. So it's our rapid eye movement sleep. This is why everyone knows, is because this is when we're having our vivid dreams. This is when we get something like sleep paralysis. It's really fascinating how that works. I don't know if you've ever been able to sort of be awake during your dreams, but you can't move your arms and legs. That's during the REM cycle. Basically, it's, as the name suggests, it's when your eyes move back and forth quite quickly under your eyelids. The breathing rate, your heart rate and blood pressure all begin to increase. This is when our vivid dreams start occurring. And as I said, this is when your arms and legs become paralysed as well. This was actually implemented into humans as a defence mechanism to stop us rolling around and stop reacting to our dreams in our sleep, which is really fascinating. It's also been found that, studies have found that REM sleep is linked to memory consolidation. So this is where we're able to process all of our memories, where we're able to really remember stuff from the day before and really consolidate those in our brain. And the duration of our REM sleep also decreases as we age, as we spend more time in our NREM stages, okay? So, as I said, these 4 stages last continuously throughout the night until we wake up. For most people, these stages last between 90 and 120 minutes. So we have these 4 stages in, let's say, 90-minute blocks, and they happen anywhere between 4 and 6 times, depending on how much sleep we're getting. So obviously, the more sleep we get, the more chance we're able to go through as many of these cycles as possible, which is obviously very important for us. And there's also something that's known as the W stage, which I didn't know about until today, which is when you break up in your sleep as well. So if you don't have an alarm set and you just suddenly wake up, that's called a W stage, and it happens quite regularly. I know I get them on occasion, where you just wake up in the middle of the night for no reason, and it's quite common apparently. So yeah, very fascinating. Another thing that I've heard from most of my clients, or the ones with sleep deprivation, is they say to me they're just used to it. This is really common. It's definitely it's been found that people can develop what we call a tolerance to long-term sleep, and you could call it chronic sleep deprivation. Even though your brains and bodies are struggling due to a lack of sleep, they're not aware of this because less sleep feels more normal to them. And this is actually really bad, because when you get into a cycle of less sleep, this is when we start to get the problems pop up, such as the obesity I spoke about earlier. It increases our risk for type 2 diabetes, higher blood pressure, heart disease, increase in chance of strokes, and more importantly, also our mental health as well. Mental health is so important here, because if we're not getting enough sleep, basically we're not recharged for the next day. We don't want to actively do stuff the next day because we're feeling so tired, which then has an impact on our mental health as well. So there's definitely a big link between the amount of sleep that you get and the positive mental health that you have as well. Obviously, a big one, I know I can speak from this, is when I don't have enough sleep, I'm then not able to go to the gym, which I find really relaxing, because I don't have enough motivation to do it. Or if I'm at the gym, I'm not feeling motivated enough, or I don't feel energized enough to actually perform the exercises. So basically, this is why I find sleep to be so important. It's something why I always bang on about it. It's really important, not only during rehab, but also when you're out of rehab as well, just in day-to-day life. It's just so important for us, and I will continue through my clinic to go on about it, because it is going to be vital to us for making a successful recovery. So that's been my live on sleep. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please pop them in the comments. I'll try my best to answer them. I'll stay on for a couple of minutes and just to see if there's any questions. If not, thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one. guys. Thank you very much.